Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm John St. Baptiste, and we are going to talk some Norse mythology today. And I have a very, very special guest. The lovely, the talented, the highly Scottish, who doesn't give a shit what anybody says, Lauren's Corner. Lauren, would you like to say hi?
Hi, everybody. It has been a long time since I've been on Mr. Baptiste's lovely channel here, and I am finally free of uni work. I'm free, freedom! So I can now...
Paint your fucking face blue.
I know, right? I don't have the makeup for that right now. Maybe another time. Next Halloween, we'll see what happens. But it's been a while since I've been on here, and it's been actually a while since I've got to hang out with my homies. So technically, this is like a catch-up for me and Mr. Baptiste here. So it's really good to see you all. I also already see Johnny's in the chat. We've got Katrine, Bear Island's in the chat, and I'm sure there's a good few other people. Forrest Blerta's here, Dark Mother, the effervescent lingering ghost on my Twitter account, always leaving me good messages and stuff. So yeah, and I'm here to get...
Shelly Duerte is here too.
Nice. So yes. I'm here to get down on some...
Shelly, all the way from America's shoes. If Canada's America's hat, then Mexico's America's shoes.
Oh, okay. No, I got the reference now.
Boots, because Mexicans are fucking badass.
Boots.
It wouldn't be shoes. We're not talking a pair of pumps. We're talking like some boots.
L boots. Totes my goats.
But yes, go on. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I'm horrible about that.
No, I'm here to talk some Neil Gaiman, Norse mythology. We're going to get into some poetry, or the meat of poetry. I love that chapter. It's the best chapter ever. And I also think we're discussing the apples of immortality as well. So those are going to be very fun, very interesting.
Yes.
Now, just to be clear, I actually haven't read the book, but I have the audiobook, which I really, really, really love. So there may be some differences between them, but I think me and John will be pretty much on the same page about how awesome this damn thing is.
Now, do you have the one that's actually read by Gaiman?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. He does his own audiobooks. A lot of people don't know this. A favorite piece of his that a lot of people have is Coraline.
Yeah.
And he actually wrote Coraline as an audiobook. It was put out initially as an audiobook.
That's nice.
And then a few months later, he released it in print form. But it was really cool at Northern Kentucky University. I guess this was right after American Gods came out, so it would have been like 2000. The woman I was seeing at the time and I went, because she was attending school there,
mm-hmm.
and Gaiman actually did a seminar on the importance of mythology in modern life, and he ended it with reading the first 2 chapters of Coraline.
Nice.
Which was fracking awesome. I met him. He's such a polite man. I mean, most English people are polite, but he's like real polite, not like this is what I should do to polite.
It reminds me of, like, see, now that he's got older, it kind of reminds me of an older, like, maybe a politer version of, what's the actor that played Snape in Harry Potter?
Alan Rickman?
Yes. If you look at Neil Gaiman now without the beard, he looks like just an older, nicer kind of Alan Rickman.
Look, we're Slytherins. We aren't mean. We're just practical.
I'm not a Slytherin. Apparently,
I'm
oh yeah, you're definitely a Slytherin.
I even have my fucking bookmark. Got my tie.
Apparently, I'm a Ravenclaw.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Got my tie.
No.
I can definitely see. I need to unplug my speakers.
Is anyone getting feedback at all? Anybody? No.
I just got an echo, so I'm pretty
That
sure.
that might be because I was trying to get the chat up on my phone with the thing, and I forgot my volume wasn't down. So, but yeah, I'm a Ravenclaw apparently. I think
I
that's
can
a
definitely see that.
brave or something. I don't know. I'm not really into Harry Potter lore. I just looked up because I'm curious. Why not?
Right. So before we get into these two chapters, since I have an actual poet as a guest today, we do need to talk, even though it was a couple weeks ago, about the origination of good poetry and bad poetry, because I want your views on that.
Do you see the smile, chat? Do you see it? I love this. Is my favorite chapter of this whole thing, especially in audiobook form. If you do not have it and you have Audible and you get like a free credit, 1 credit every month, then you should get Neil Gaiman's like Norse mythology and just have it playing in the background while you're cleaning or doing stuff, because it will take you and it will hold you, surprise you. I remember being sad when I was listening to this for the first time. This was a wee while ago, and I was lying in the bath just trying to like chill, and I'm listening to this end bit about like where poetry comes from, and there's this punchline at the end. I remember exactly in the bath when that punchline hit, and I cackled for the first time in a good couple of months. Proper cackled, booming laughter out throughout the whole house. I literally got out the bath. I messaged Neil Gaiman on Twitter. I was like, I just went from sad to hysterically laughing just because of this one thing. Thank you so much. So I'm really glad it could help. I just got a tweet back as well. But just the origin of poetry. So, like, the origin of poetry apparently comes from the god of poetry, spoilers, who basically has his throat slashed and it's put into...
We're past that chapter. These aren't spoilers. These are you didn't do your homework.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just recapping. Okay, recap. So basically, the god of poetry is basically tricked and has had his throat slit into stale honey to then be fermented into mead, and this becomes the mead of poetry. Anyone who drinks even just a drop of it will become fluent in poetry, be able to write epics and songs and ballads and folk tales out the wazoo. So this kind of all happens, and ensuing that, basically Odin's like, as Odin does, like, I want that, gimme. So he basically whores his way, lies, tricks, cheats. He's basically Loki in older guy form, and eventually gets a hold of this, and it turns into a grand theft ego chase back to Asgard. And he manages to put all the mead out into 2 big vats for everybody, all the gods of Asgard and whatnot. And the person he stole it from, he basically just wet farts in his face, and it shoots all everywhere, and literally that's it, just compounded with it, and that's where shit poetry comes from. I was like, that is the fucking tits. That's so good. Like, that's basically, you're talking at your arse. That's a good way to put it. You're poetically talking out of your arsehole. Like, just so funny. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, I probably have like maybe a questionable sense of humor at times, right? But I love poop jokes. I love it's just the funniest thing. But
it's bloody great. It's fabulous. And it's it really gets things so simply. It expresses that concept. Like, yeah, bad poetry comes out of somebody's ass. It's not bad writing, bad poetry, bad writing, bad any creation, bad music.
What I love about it, though, is that it comes out so fun, so joyful, so playful, as well as being so deceitful. It's very human. It's like you're scheming your way through to get all these different things and whatnot. Like it's very humanistic. It's hilarious. Just so I'm losing the words for it. It's comedic. It just shows you the extent of Norse mythology, how it can be so serious, so big and overwhelming, but it's absolutely just comedy. It's comedy. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's comedy, it's tragedy, I've always said that Greek and Norse mythoses are a bunch of fucking drama queens. Like, you read the Iliad, it's like it's a big spat. Like, don't get me wrong, I love it. I mean, I love Homer. I freaking love Homer. But I love that Homer points out that the gods are just exaggerated humans in these mythos. They're exaggerated humans who can play with people like, I mean, in Norse mythology, they actually use this metaphor, play with people like a chessboard. Like, they're just more powerful humans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a person who has my own faith and my own beliefs, I still love studying the religions of other people because I love seeing these things. I love seeing the flaws and the benefits of not only their beliefs but mine.
Exactly. And that's the best way to be as a human, is to be curious, is to learn like other languages so you can learn other people's cultures, folk tales and things like that. I mean, the people that I've been studying this year, a lot of the writers did that. So you've got Milton and Wordsworth and Coleridge and people like that, these great famous poets, who learned in excess of anywhere from 2 to 12 different languages so that they could read other folk tales, other stories that weren't necessarily all Western.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's amazing. I mean, I don't think I'll ever really read the Iliad or stuff from Virgil or Homer or people like that. Maybe not until I'm a bit older and I can grasp the concept of sitting down and reading a complete and utter poetic epic that's like that much big. Like it's huge. Like it's so overwhelming just to look at them. But these are very accessible. If in a modern incarnation, one has to make that clear.
The Iliad, the Iliad and the Odyssey, if you find, especially the Odyssey, because the Odyssey is just hilarious and fun and just great. Plus, if I know you're in uni right now, you're probably going to have to study James Joyce. It'll make a lot more sense if you've read the Odyssey. Otherwise, you're going to be like, "What's this reference? What's this reference?" Oh, I might as well just read the fucking book.
I did actually do some James Joyce in my modernism thing because I had to use James Joyce as a contrast with Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse. For modernist kind of storytelling and how they do it. That was the essay that I took the longest on because I just needed to understand the concepts more. And I fucking love Virginia Woolf now. At one point I was like, nah, boring, crap. But now the concepts have been explained to me. Like To the Lighthouse is barely as a tiny book, 160 pages, but it feels like a 500, 600 page novel.
Oh yeah, Virginia Woolf is dense.
Oh yeah,
like it's so dense. And her, I mean, I've loved Virginia Woolf since I was a teenager. Like when I first discovered her, she fucking brilliant. I love James Joyce because I think it's kind of like finding starving red-haired women attractive. I'm just genetically bred to.
For me, when it comes to Virginia Woolf, the striking difference in progress between Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse is massive. Like, because with Mrs. Dalloway, it's kind of boring because it doesn't feel like Virginia's gotten as far as she wanted to with the idea, the concept. but she's came around to doing to Lighthouse. It has come full circle. It really is such a great, magnanimous. Just I can't love on this thing even anymore. I mean, I've read some of Dubliners, which is a collection of short storybooks by James Joyce. If anyone wants to go read them, very good example of Irish, modern kind of Irish literature, turn of the century, last century. Oh, that still feels weird saying from last century.
I might know somebody who has a first printing of that sitting in a Mylar bag on the shelf.
Nice.
I'm not going to give you their address, though.
See, he's got all the contraband books. Just like I got this in first, I got this in first, I got this in first, this. But
it's not contraband. I just have a meth dealer who lives 2 buildings down from me.
I'm just saying. But I also got Ulysses as well because I was going to choose between one or the two to do my essay with. But I took one look at Ulysses compared to Dubliners. I was like, I'm going to leave Ulysses for a little while longer.
I totally get it. Actually, as someone who loves James Joyce, I would say the best introduction to his work is Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man.
Yes, that one's a lot that came up in a lot of the essays that I read about him.
I mean, it's in a wee little book. But it's like you were saying about Virginia Woolf. I mean, yeah, it's 100-something pages, but you feel like you just read a Stephen King novel. Like you're like, whoa.
Like, and people get all kind of like for A Song of Ice and Fire. People are like, oh, like George R. R. Martin kills people off every page. Man, you get to the middle of 2 Lighthouse and your heart will be just shattered. Like they don't even get a good send off. It's in parentheses. So and so died. Blah 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 on the front. We're never seeing this character again. It's just utter desolation in the middle. I know we're going off on a tangent, chat. I'm sorry, but this is providing whole context to our abilities as book nerds. It's so amazing. It's just so amazing. Bear Island John, laugh out loud, meth dealer. A person can read an awful lot when they don't never sleep. This is very true. It's very true. Very, very true. Even drug takers read books.
I may or may not have had a professor who I'm pretty sure had a big meth issue. But oh my gosh. Eastern literature at 8 a.m. was always an interesting class.
I would have liked to have known that.
No, not going to mention the professor's name, of course, because we're like live and stuff like that.
I'd just love to be a fly on the wall for that, just to see what that was like.
And I believe she's probably no longer with us. I would imagine. But oh my god, yeah. Eastern literature. Like you have somebody twacked out of their head at 8 a.m. talking about Lao Tzu. That wakes you the fuck up.
Oh my god, if somebody was methed out their head talking to me about like the art of war or some shit, I'm just like, wow, super informative. Okay, can we take you the rest of the semester and the next couple of years? That'd be great. Thank you.
It's like one of those drugs that if you could take all the good and none of the bad, you'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Unfortunately, there's a lot of the bad.
Yeah. So much bad. Not that I would know. Not entirely.
Yeah. I don't eat. My house is clean as fuck. And I've just set up for like 3 days reading the entire Song of Ice and Fire.
Nice.
Like, yeah, this is awesome. On the other hand, my teeth are falling out. I'm paranoid AF. Like, yeah. Drugs have all that trade-off. By the way, self-plug. If you haven't checked out my last playlist that came up last Monday, It's volume 2 of drug music. And it is not, well, there's one drug that I condemn, but I mean, you gotta. But outside of that, it's just great music that involves chemicals.
Also, self-plug for myself. While we're here, I write books. I have books. Yes, you can buy them on Amazon. You just type in my name, Lauren Cullen, and then either Honest Poetry or Crazy Diamond or Break the Chain, and you'll get them there. I've actually reduced the price on a lot of them, so you can go get them for a bit cheaper than what they were, because the next book will be out very shortly. My friend, my book cover artist, just finished doing the book cover for the next one, which should be out shortly, and I'm working back on my short story book and kind of faffing about with a novel. We'll see where that goes. But one of the characters, just let me a little spoiler for you guys. One of the characters is actually based on Mr. Baptiste here himself. So y'all just need to sit and wait for that. And so does Mr. Baptiste. I've just dropped a big whammy because he didn't know about that. So
No,
wait, he's like, what?
And
what?
you stole my thunder because I was going to promote your stuff.
I promote me, boy. I'm ahead of the game, okay? I'm laying the path, the foundations, everything. So, yeah, if you want one of those, just go on Amazon, type it up. You should be able to get it. Make sure you're on the American Amazon, Amazon.com. If you're in the UK, make sure you're on Amazon.co.uk. Anywhere else, you can go into your Amazon and get them. They are basically freshly printed and sent to you. I also have a Patreon where you can pick up some of my poetry. I do some interviews, things like that, under Lauren's Corner. It's up to you. $1.50 a month, that type of deal. You know, I don't ask for much. It's just coffee money and to help fuel me to write more stuff. I've got more time to do that now, so this is really
great.
And
I'm gonna lift up the kilt. Oh, did you see what I did there?
Ooh la la, the kilt.
And I actually, if you look down in the description, there's a link to Lauren's channel. So please check it out. She does some amazing stuff. We'll get into that in a bit. I want to go into this first chapter that we're going to do. And then we'll have a little pause in the middle. And you can plug yourself as much as you want. You shameless fucking Scott.
I know, right?
Oh gosh, Scots have no shame. Just so you know. like, and if anybody doesn't know, like Scotland was actually colonized generally by Irish people. We were like, oh, it's not cold enough. There's not enough rain. Let's go over there.
Let me just clarify. I actually am, by genetics, predominantly Scottish, but down my dad's side, I am connected to, apparently, on his word, and my great-granddad's word, and my granddad's word, we are descended from Irish nobility and royalty, apparently, from way back when. Apparently, granddad found all this stuff out. It's somewhere in Ireland, and it's related to my last name, etc. I haven't worked it out yet. I did take a DNA test, so I'll get the results for that and confirm it sometime next year. We'll see what happens. But yeah, you know, part Irish, so it's fine. And the Vikings as well, like, inhabited most of the north of Scotland, and then you had some Romans and then Caledonians and all. We're a cacophony, and there's Egyptians and stuff like that. It's how Scotland got their name, from an Egyptian princess called Princess Scotta. Yeah, lots of fun mythology in that too. But to the book.
Mythology. So we're talking about Thor and Loki's little adventure to the land of the giants. I love that you brought up earlier. You were like, Odin is an older, wiser Loki.
Pretty much.
He is, but he isn't.
Right. Well, if you add Thor into that equation, then he's definitely Loki.
Odin won't break his word.
That's where the wiser part.
He'll stick to it to the T. This is how I function as well. I find it most convenient. I'm like, no, actually, that's what I said.
Yeah.
But he will stick to his word. Loki will straight up lie to you. But he's not. You know, I want your views on this because we're like halfway through this book, and I want your views. Before we really dive into this chapter, I want your views on those characters.
Like on
I
Loki, on Thor, on
Odin.
Odin.
Odin does what I have always been fond of, which is like, I will never tell a lie. I'll give you two pieces of truth and let you put the together how you'd like, but I didn't lie to you.
Well, there's this perception aspect in that as well. How do you perceive Odin? And then there's like that duality of you can get two truths, but you will decide what one's yours.
I'm not saying it's not shady.
No. I know it's not shady, but it's not exactly coming out with the truth.
I'm about as shady as it gets.
Right? But you have to look as well as his character. Like, you can also represent like Hugin and Mugen, like the two ravens or crows that he has as well.
Hunin and Meanin.
Aye.
It's in Germanic languages, which I'm very bad at. Very, very bad at, because I took Latin, not anything remotely coming from Northern Europe. The GU is a E sound. When I was in high school, a friend of mine and I really wanted to start a band, which was Unter Schwa. You know what schwa is, right?
No.
That's like that upside down E that you see in pronunciation.
All right, okay.
All the time. And then an unta is the two dots. So, like, that would have been the name of the band. But, like, the way you would pronounce it would have been eh.
Right, okay. Fair enough. Oh, I like Bear Island's comment we've got right now. I was going to get a family tartan kilt when I was in Edinburgh, but it turns out they're extremely expensive, and I decided I'd rather eat and drink the rest of the trip. For sure. If anybody goes to Scotland and think those tartans are cheap, they're not. Especially if you want a real kilt, like even just a basic dress kilt.
And there are kilts in Ireland.
Yep, there is.
I have a kilt from my family. It was my grandfather's. I would never fucking buy one myself. No, it'd be thousands of dollars. So
See, even over here, like a lot of the weddings that you see people wearing kilts, they've actually hired them for the day because it's cheaper to hire one than it is to buy one. Like
on St. Agnes Day or something like that, or
on mostly weddings.
Okay.
Or official occasions or whatever. But to be honest, like that, like it's all hand woven, hand weaved material and dyed and wool and whatnot. It's heavy wool. It's not fake.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you know how much I love my formal wear.
Mm-hmm. And it's like about 10 to 20 meters in length, depending on the size of the person as well. So that's like a lot of material. And then on top of that, you've got like the spora and the ski-and-do, the socks, the everything, the belt that goes with it, and it's a whole bunch of fash. So I mean, Bear, you're totally right to just be like, nope, I will stick to my imaginary kilt and go eat and get drunk. So
No, Dark Mother brings it up. It's the same as tuxedos.
Yeah.
Like it's cheaper to rent a tuxedo. Like, how many fucking weddings are you going to be in? Like, I go to a lot of weddings. I mean, I'm a fucking Irish Catholic. I mean, we make babies like, Steve Jobs makes
iPhones.
Shit that people pay money for. Made, I guess, now would be the word. God rest his soul. Quit ripping Steve off, please. But no, it's like, yeah, I own my kilt because it was my grandfather's kilt. Otherwise, I'm not going to spend $1,000 on it. And like a tuxedo, like a tuxedo has to be properly fitted. Like, you know how much I love formal wear. I except for Wednesdays. It's casual Wednesday. I love my formal wear. I would love to own a tuxedo. On the other hand, I don't have $1,500 spare dollars to spend on one. And I'm a hard person to fit. I mean, you and I have met.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
You're
very
basically
slim and I'm very tall.
You're basically the really friendly Lurch. Like, you remember Lurch from the Addams Family?
I was going to say a white Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. A friendly lurch works well.
Friendly Lurch. Just like a Lurch that was dressed as fucking Crowley, just walking about, like, kind of semi-drunk. It's just like, brilliant. It's like, I didn't expect you to be as tall as you are. Just like, wow, hi. But yeah, like, having a suit for you would be just like, that's extra dollars. That's way more extra dollars. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. So, in regards to Odin, we're going
Dark
on.
Mother is really being a mother because she's like, hey, get back on topic.
Right. So, see, you can tell me and John haven't actually sat and talked to each other for quite some time. So, this is why the tangents are happening. So,
apologies.
Yes, my sincere apologies to everybody in the chat.
I hope we're entertaining everybody.
Oh, I'm so sarcastic. Anyway, so to Odin. Odin, I think he's very much in character. I mean, yes, he is kind of shady, but he's not so overtly shady. He's shady for a reason. You know what I mean?
No, and that's exactly my point. Odin always has a purpose behind what he does. I mean, motherfucker plucked out his eye. He always has purpose behind what he does.
Yes.
Loki's just, he's a trickster deity. And I mean, you and I have had a number of conversations. I'm obsessed with trickster deities and what they do. And how the motif, it's always creation, but half the time it's like fucking themselves. Like it that's why coyote stories are so dirty and so funny. Like I know you don't have coyote stories over there, but you've probably read a couple.
Probably not.
Oh, like Coyote was like on the day they were handing out brains, he went to the shit pile. He was like, "Oh, you're handing out shit. That's awesome." Like Coyote always fucks himself over.
See, when you said Coyote, I thought you were talking about like the Looney Tunes version of Coyote with
which actually is somewhat representative of the Native American deity. Like it
somewhat emphasis on somewhat, but I get the idea. Yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants, please put it in the chat. I will do an entire stream on mythological motifs of Looney Tunes. I would totally do that. Because Tex Avery and Chuck Jones, fucking brilliant.
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny is a trickster god. I mean, he really is. He's a trickster deity. He behaves in a manner and acts as a trickster deity, and so does Daffy Duck. But Bugs Bunny's the successful trickster deity, like Hermes, whereas Daffy Duck is always the Prometheus.
Yeah.
Which, oh my gosh, I could go into this for hours, and I would bore the fuck out of everybody.
So who's Elmer Fudd in this equation if we're talking about deities? Like, what would Elmer Fudd be?
Initially, Elmer Fudd is a bad racist joke. When it came a little later to the work, Elmer Fudd is, I think, almost a a representation of our modern industrialized culture. Oh my god, I'm getting fucking deep here.
Yeah.
Our modern industrialized culture trying to do things that we did 100 or 500 or so many years ago. You always make the joke. I used to hunt, and I always make the joke. I don't hunt anymore because you know what? It's 5 in the fucking morning, and I don't want to be either standing in a tree with deer piss on my fucking shoes, or like sitting by a lake putting out decoys. Like it's 5 in the morning. I want to be sleeping.
This like folks, this is where we've led to. This is what you get on this channel. From Odin, the All-Father, to Elmer Fudd. The analyzation of gods in cartoons. This is what this is now.
If you can't talk about one, you shouldn't bother talking about the other.
Right? So much. Okay, so maybe we should move on to Loki.
DM channels. Dark Mother says she channels the Tasmanian Devil. Which god is that?
It's a very good question.
I wouldn't say that would be a Norse deity. I think the first deity that pops to mind would probably be Pan.
Pan, the pagan god.
Yeah, the Pan, the Greek.
Oh yeah, okay.
Or Dionysus. Which is my actual, if I take off this veneer of immortal, that's actually who I am. It's Dionysus.
Keep saying that, people will start to believe it.
Did you see our episode? It was the finale of season 2 of American Gods. Amy and I actually dressed as the gods who we represent, and I was Dionysus and she was the Morrigan.
See, I've been told I look a lot like Venus, and mostly when I have the long hair, but a lot of associations with like a Venus and Aphrodite for me. I can't really say in relation to, or Egyptian gods wise, I feel related more to Bast and Bastet, like the cat gods.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones for me.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I could totally see that. But so we Odin. Anything else about Odin? Because he doesn't really feature in this story.
I think he does well to settle everything. I think how he does compensation is pretty good. How he deals with things that his kids get up to are very, very good parenting. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in Loki, it's kind of effed because like he's kind of his kid, but he's his brother too. He's his blood brother.
But Loki's just like front and center. To be fair, Loki takes up most of the portion of these stories. But he is that trickster god. He is that human that gets into shit all the time. Whether he's incited it or not, it just happens, you know. And he has to find a way out of that. And one way or the other, you know. He's equally as enjoyable as he is frustrating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no. Not just that. It's also like he fixes so many things. But on the other hand, half the time he created them. I mean, that's the entire trickster god motif. Is they create the problems that they fix half the time. Like and that's across the entire planet. Trickster gods generally create most of the problems that they have to deal with, but then they come out ahead most of the time. Once in a while, you get tied to a rock for eternity and get your liver eaten out by a condor every day.
Yeah.
For eternity.
Yeah.
and until some dumb fuck shows up and is like, "Oh, hey, for you." But otherwise, it's like usually they make their own problems and then they have to get themselves out of that situation. But creating that problem and creating that situation always creates growth.
Yeah, so there's a great bit of philosophy in there as well. It's like,
That's why I gave you that fucking book, Trickster Makes This World,
absolutely.
which you still haven't read, have you?
No, if you could see the box of like uni stuff just for one semester that I have down at the side of my desk right now, you would understand why I've barely even been able to read anything I want to read. Like really, I want to sit and read all of Lovecraft. I want to sit and read all Grant Morrison's The Invisibles. I want to sit and read Lord of the Rings finally. Like all those stuff, all that, and like it's the Witcher book series as well. I want to get a head start and read some of that too, but I just not had a chance. But anyway, for this, he has really this good philosophical tales in here. Like, if you create this problem, you should be able to fix it, and if you can't fix it, you should ask for help, or at least be like, I did this. You own up to what you did,
Right.
and try and make it right and formulate a plan or suffer the consequences. Because like Odin's obviously they are to be like, I'm going to enforce these consequences if you don't fess up to what's going to go on. What you've been up to, what have you done? And that's important for life as well, because when you finally overcome that, you're learning, you're educating yourself, you're growing, as you said. There's growth there inside a person, and you need growth
Right.
to go forward. Otherwise, you'll still be the same person in the next 40 years as you were back then. I mean, it's completely in human nature, where if you are emotionally immature, but you stop maturing emotionally or mentally at a certain age, and you continue into your 40s to your 60s, and you're still the age of like an 18-year-old, then that's not going to vibe well with the rest of society. You just won't function. You won't be able to function. And it's also part, like, most of the main characters are male. So you're taking in your manhood, your maleness, you're going hunting, you're doing these things. It's the coming of age. And they always seem to be coming of age. Like you're taking this place, you're doing this, and blah blah blah. You're earning your titles, your legends, your mythology, your story is your life, is your soul,
It's something I've talked about often. Is males? I think one of the biggest disparagements in our civilization, our societies nowadays, is that we no longer have a male rite of passage. Like women, by their very nature, have a certain day when they're about 12 or 13 where they're like, I'm no longer a girl, I'm a woman. And I have to fucking deal with this. And I'm going to have to fucking deal with this for the rest of my life. Males don't have that. And that's why so many societies have, in the past, had a male rite of passage.
It's like
the closest thing you have nowadays is a fucking bar mitzvah, and it's nothing like what it was back then.
See,
you're getting put under. Like, no, like it used to be like your foreskin's getting cut off while you're still awake and you're looking at it. And this is what makes you a man. You're no longer a boy, you're a man. Women, by their very nature, have to have that change.
So I want to partially agree with you that there is a lack of man changing the guard from boy to man. But I think it also has to do with how we parent as well. There's a lot of the old style coming of age man type things had a thing where you separated from the mum. You were forced into independence. And learning that lesson of independence was the key part of you becoming a man, being in charge and knowing to be yourself. Whereas now a lot of the males, and I'm not going to say that of every man, but if you're quite attached to your mum and a bit too more so, you don't ever have the power to really leave and disconnect from the mother figure. You need to be your own person. Even girls are like that sometimes, but despite going through the change when we're younger, and yes, from 13 plus that can happen. But for some women like myself who have the period and um, don't necessarily feel womanly until they hit maybe mid-20s or something like that, that's a thing as well. It's also to do a lot with the society we have, how they portray women, and how one woman's insignificant to the other because they don't have such and such skinny waist, things like that. Um, it is being slowly rolled around, but even I know, and I would never say that I'm really a feminist because I hate the way it's being argued these days. Um, equality, equity should be a thing between the genders, all of the genders. No matter, I'm not very clued up about all the evolving genders that are coming out, but for the base biological genders, things are vastly different to what they were. There is this lack of separation from the parents. You need to have a certain amount of independence for yourself to be able to have financial control, financial and emotional and maturity to take yourself beyond. You don't have the opportunities to learn if you're still letting your mum doing your laundry or pay the bills or things like that. I've got a 30-year-old like plus friend who still stays with his mum and his brother. They all live in the same house, and she takes his credit cards. He works full time, 40, 50 hours a week sometimes. She has his credit cards. He'll give her dig money, like rent money, and then he will then get asked for another £100 or something like that because she wants to go food shopping, even though he's already gave her money for food shopping. They just give it to her. And then he'll rant to me about it. I'm just like, don't bother ranting to me. You had the choice. You've been told many times your independence. Take control of your money. Be responsible.
And take your independence. I mean, I sold my house. Now I live in a studio apartment, and honestly, it's great. Honestly, I fracking love it. I have my 500 square feet, and I don't need any more than that till I buy more books, and then I'll probably need a bit more. By the way, for anyone who follows my channel, the book tour video will be coming up soon as I completely get unpacked. It's really hard to get motivated because I know I'm moving to like far away in a year. Not far away, but well, far away for you.
Yeah.
Because like the distance from where I am and where I'm probably moving for you would be like moving to another country, right? America's so ridiculously huge.
It is.
Like, but I'm moving from one corner of my state to the other corner of my state.
Yeah.
And but yes, I've been asked so many times for the book tour, and I'll do it. I'm not going to read every fucking one of them off. I'll just give like the sections.
I'm actually getting very used to not seeing the wall of books behind you. I was so used to just being like the backdrop of just a massive bookcase that just seemed to never end beyond the screen and everything. And now just seeing the TV and the window.
There are heaters all along this wall with floor heaters, and would you rather be too cold or too hot?
Somewhere in the middle, like, but mostly a bit
Well,
chilly.
yeah, obviously, but I'm asking if you have to pick one or the other.
I'd rather be a bit chilly than too hot.
If I'm not exercising, working, or fornicating, I should not be sweating. And we have, like, I love the fact that the heat is included in my rent. But on the same note, it's radiator heat that comes through the entire fracking building. And apparently they think everyone who lives here is like 90. Like, I have to turn on my air conditioner at night so I can sleep.
Can you not crack a window open or something?
I live on the first floor.
Right. Okay.
I'd be terribly uncomfortable with that.
But anyway, back to the story, because we're tangenting.
Back to the story, yes, because we've been tangenting for like
tangenting. We just made another word.
a fucking hour, and people are sticking around, which that's fucking beautiful.
Welcome to the never-ending tangent where we're trying to do something completely focused. And I like to put notes and stuff like that. I like, bugger the notes. Who cares about the notes? Just like, even the notes don't want to run away. Like, notes, goodbye notes. But yeah, so like Loki is such an epic character. He's so human. There's this like between him and between Thor, this is a kind of coming of age, independence, growing, learning, things like that. I think in one of the other stories, like Thor got to learn the lesson of like, you know, you're not great at everything. I mean, you can't outdo this, you can't outdo that. I mean, you might think that you're best at everything, but you don't let your ego get in the way.
I don't even think he can spell.
What's that?
I don't even think he can spell. I love the fact that Gaiman portrays Thor the way he is portrayed in Norse mythology. Like, he's
a bit slow.
Stupid.
I was being nice.
I'm not going to be nice.
Right. So when I was listening to this again, I actually, in my head, was comparing actual Thor in the Norse mythology to Marvel Thor. And it's such a big difference. Maybe in the early iteration of Marvel's Thor, it was kind of what he was, but obviously they've had to elevate him and move him forward within the movies itself.
Oh, why do you think I make that caveat? Like every episode, I'm like, okay, this Thor is not this Thor. Like, one thing he's not as pretty. For another thing, he rubs his hammer and it gets bigger.
Oh my god. Like, that's hilarious. Just the innuendos on that one
are brilliant and they're hilarious. I mean, these are your ancient religions. You know, the Pharaoh used to jerk off into the Nile to make sure that it would grow for like flood enough.
It's hilarious that most of these religions didn't take them to itself too seriously, but took themselves seriously at the same time. You know what I mean? Just and like the ending of the story for the Apples of Immortality was just on the nose. Like, it's kind of not really redemption. It's just it's that comedic part to make up to the giant. And like, do you want to actually explain to the chat what giants actually are? Because there's the definition of the giants is a bit construed. Some people will think giants will think massive, but sometimes they're not. You know.
So giants in Norse mythology are physically bigger, like physically larger than obviously people, but also gods. Physically larger. Generally, that's where the bonus stops, because a lot of them are really fucking stupid. Like Thor stupid. Like rub my hammer stupid. But then occasionally you have a clever one. Like, for example, Loki, who is not an Aesir. Loki's a giant. Well, he's a half giant. He's a fucking bastard.
but he's not giant size, though.
Right. And it's one of those things that I always find intriguing about different polytheistic theologies is that these deities can pretty much appear how they want. I mean, you go to Greek mythology, Zeus, the serial rapist. He was like the Harvey Weinstein of the Greek world.
God, Zeus, man.
I could be a swan. I could be a bull. You know, I can be a cloud.
That dude's had some messed up fantasies going on. You know, like just if you're gonna rate,
I like my description. He was the Harvey Weinstein of the Greek world.
yeah. His children got his children got their own back on him quite a few times. Let's face it, you know. But wow, yeah.
Okay, Zeus and Hera breeding was always a bad idea because their kids were all fucked up. Hephaestus was like okay, but like Ares, what a piss. And you know, yeah, but Zeus is like illegitimate children, like yeah, Apollo, Artemis, Athena, Bacchus. You know, I'm a big fan of Bacchus.
Bacchus.
I know a lot about him.
The god of wine.
He and I are great friends.
The god of tits and wine.
I don't need the tits. I just need the wine.
You got your own tits. Okay, back to the story.
That was hurtful. You're calling me fat now.
What was? I
didn't call me fat. No, just saying.
I didn't call you fat. I just said you had tits. Men have boobs as well. They're just called moobs. You know, man boobs. They're there.
I have pecs.
Pits.
I spend a lot of time at the gym making sure that I have pecs and not boobs.
Moobs. Man boobs. Or pits. They're sort of tits, they're sort of pecs. Say which. Oh.
And Lady Laura Dane says, I get LLD. Are you saying you would like to shag Zeus? I mean, because seriously, he's probably got a bit of an itch down there.
An itch is more like a clause.
Throwing that out there. Like,
you know what?
He's more promiscuous than my ex, and my ex has been passed around more than a cheap joint at an Allman Brothers concert. So, yeah, if you're gonna shag Zeus LOD, please make sure he wraps that shit up. That's all I'm gonna say.
And you know, dips it in bleach. Just to be sure.
But no, so let's finally get into the story. Now that we're an hour into this fucking video.
I don't know if you can save this. Maybe we can save this.
This is my channel. I can waffle as much as I fucking want to.
You're right, you can. Awesome. Right, so back to the waffly of the non-waffly of the story. So basically, shorthand, Loki gets into shit, and a giant disguised as an eagle basically steals him because he tried to poke him with his spear. They go flying. Giant's like, I want apples of immortality that give all the.
No, before that.
Well,
we can pop into that story, but first we're supposed to talk about Thor's journey to the land of the giants.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yawning. I got mixed up with the chapters again in my head.
It's okay.
So
it's the most professional channel on YouTube right here.
I know, so professional. I should have like a tie on or something like that. Just like we sit going on. So breaking news. Thor and Loki and someone else, I can't remember the guy's name.
Falafi.
It's so close to being a falafel. So Falafel and Loki and falafel. You get it anyway. And
Yes, I
Thor,
got it.
Thor.
Oh, and there's a certain ironic humor to the fact that we're talking about a Germanic race and somebody having falafel as a name. But I don't know if I'll delve into that.
Okay, cool. So they're basically in this little journey, blah blah blah, and they come across a tiny giant, apparently, and they.
What do you remember? Falafel, you know, Thor and Loki, they got hospitality.
Yeah.
And the family was like, we don't really have any food. I mean, you can stay here, but we don't really have any food. Thor's like, oh, that's okay. Slaughter my goats. And just don't eat the bones. Because I'm a fucking god. That's how I resurrect them. And then Loki, just doing his Loki shit, is like, oh, hey, Thor sucks the marrow out of those bones. And Thalafi does that, and then the next day, Thor resurrects his goats. Norse mythology is so fucking weird. Thor resurrects his goats, and the one's crippled because the marrow was sucked out of his bones. And that's why Thalafi has to travel with Thor and Loki.
Mm-hmm.
And I it's always been one of my things since I was a child that I've always loved about this mythology is that there are always consequences. Like, we brought up Greek mythology for a moment. Like, there are never fucking consequences for anything anybody does, unless they piss off the gods, and then they're, you're like pushing a rock up a hill for eternity.
Greek mythology is so convoluted. It's like nobody really gets into trouble. I never really look at Zeus and his ways. It's just like, this is a shit. It's like, yeah, cool, Zeus.
Yeah, well, Zeus doesn't get into trouble. The women he shags and the kids he has get into a lot of fucking trouble.
All right.
Have a lot of fucking problems.
God damn it.
And that goes back to, I know you haven't read Virgil, but Hera was made to take an oath to never harm him. All of the gods were the initial 7 were made to take that oath to never harm Zeus because he was the one who saved him. He got them all out of Kronos' belly.
Totes. Right. So basically, the story that we're talking about is they're on this kind of adventure. These 3 people, they meet like a giant who's a bit shorter than most giants would be. All their stuff ends up in the giant's bag. The giant falls asleep, and they try to open the giant's bag, but it doesn't open. Thor, Loki, and the other person can't open it, and they get increasingly frustrated and whatnot. Thor tries to hit him with a hammer. It doesn't really do much. Blah blah blah. We're swiftly move along. I'm really cutting a lot out. This is the abridged version, so you're cutting out a lot of stuff. Repeated attempts to get into the bag to eat. Blah blah blah, and it doesn't really happen. And then they're still following the giant, and they come to this big giant's hall where the other giants are, and they're invited to eat, to do challenges, to do drinking challenges, eating challenges, things like that. And it eventually turns out to be all an illusion. It's illusion, all of it. From the beginning to the end, it's all an illusion to teach them a lesson, more or less.
Well, it's yeah, exactly. That's a damn good way to put it. It's an illusion and it's a lesson. Like, you're fighting against hunger. You're fighting against disease. These things that you can't you're fighting against time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's absolutely something to be learned there. There are things that are not only outside of the realm of us as people, but outside of the realm of gods. Like one of the really interesting things about the Norse mythology is that the gods are kind of mortal, and it goes back to the concept which Gaiman used as kind of his basis for American Gods, is that gods depend on our belief in them as much as we depend on them.
Absolutely.
For things. Now, for me, like, I'm not disparaging anybody who practices a pagan religion by any means. Practice what you believe. That's awesome. But the form of prayer always comes across to me as, hey, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. Whereas as a Catholic, it's like, hey, shit might suck, shit might be great, but I'm still going to thank you for the fact that I'm alive. The fact that I have a kid, even though he makes some very poor decisions. The fact that I have a job. I'm just going to thank you. I'm not trying to make a deal with you.
Yeah.
But there are people who are practicing Catholics or other forms of Christianity who do that. Like I mean, I'm a huge fan of American baseball. Like I love baseball. Next time you're in America, I am taking you to a baseball game, by the way. Take you to a Cincinnati Reds game. Make you a Reds fan. I'll get you they actually have a little placard for people who it's their first game they ever went to. I'll make sure you get one.
Lol.
I got one for my goddaughter when she was like 2.
Nice.
So now I'll get one for you when you're 22, right?
Yeah, 22. Whatever you say.
But no, you'll see like players like before they bat cross themselves, and it's like, do you really think like I cross myself before I drive? Were you in a car with me during con?
No.
No, I don't think I drove the entire time I was there, which is probably a good idea. I just saw the eyes pop out.
Yeah.
But I cross myself before I drive. But you'll see like a player cross themselves before they bat, and you're like, do you really think, if you honestly believe in this higher being, that he really gives a fuck about what your batting average is this season?
Yeah, but there's also a political aspect against that as well. As like they're doing it as well to catch the eye of people who are also religious and gain them as fans. That's another psychological part of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, when it comes to like the something for something, I think it's all about fair trade, you know. And yeah, there's some Christians that'll just pray and just be like, I'm thankful for this, I'm thankful for that, blah blah blah, or you'll pray like, God, can you help me with this and blah blah blah. But I think the difference between the Christianity and the pagan, or at least within Norse mythology, is like it's something more materializes for the people who give something up, who like physically sacrifice something in order to make this deal, or someone, or some things and things like that, where Christians aren't really sacrificing much. No offense to any Christians, but you're on your knees. You're on your knees and you're praying, depending on what section of Christianity you're in. You're going to church maybe once a month, every 2 weeks or whatever, to to do mass or to take sacrament or whatever. And just a lot of people don't find that connection as much as they do maybe with paganism. I mean, I've met a lot of born again Christians that have been from alcoholism to Christianity, and those guys are just mental people, like the Bible bashing type of. And
You trading one addiction for another.
Yeah, exactly. We had one of those.
You ever go to a fucking AA meeting? It's all coffee and cigarettes. I had an incident when I was younger, and part of my court requirements were that I go to some AA meetings. And it's just coffee and cigarettes, and you're like, you aren't fixing anything. You're just swapping it. And you're swapping it for something else. And a lot, and I'm not disparaging all born again Christians, but a lot of them, yeah, I agree entirely. They're just trading one addiction for a new one.
Like, well, I'll give you an example. There's one guy that I recently had a conversation with, tried to, in the middle of Falkirk, middle of my hometown. Him and a group of other guys were standing on a box, thumping their Bible, saying, "You're all lost," and blah, blah, blah. Jesus is coming again, but like the usual shit. So I went up to him. I was like, what's the deal, man? Why are you up here shouting? And he's like, you lost it, blah, blah, blah. I tried to have a reasonable conversation with him, right? And he would shout over me. I was like, are you a good Christian for being like this shouty? You know, what led you to being a born again Christian? I was an alcoholic. Boom. There you go. You're swapping one addiction for the other. Even if
it's not just that, you're acting like an alcoholic. You're just acting like an alcoholic about your religion.
And you're thumping a book. Like, that's not preaching. There was even a preacher that came past us, took one look at that guy, shook his head, and wandered right away. Just like, no. So people in the chat was like, baseball, don't do it. Or baseball is sheer joy. Yeah, let's right, John. Just to let you know, I have been to I've never been to a baseball game, but I have been to what do you call it? Oh my god, the thing with the horses and they're wild-ish and an arena cowboy hats. What's it called? A rodeo derby thingamabobbit. I don't know. I was a while ago. Been to one of those. Very American. But anyway, so like
really quickly, I want to establish, Dark Mother. I see your comment. What works for people is great. I'm talking about people who are
unable to see their addiction properly and fully, and
who aren't able to fix their problem.
Yeah, not willing.
People who aren't able to take that 12th step
and admit the problem is them.
Yeah, the problem is you. You know what? I mean, I would like to think that I have the soul of a saint and the mouth of a sailor, but you know, which I think is pretty much true. But I have my issues, you know, and I am not going to condemn anybody for any way that they find their way to deal with those said issues that they might have. But I'm talking about the people who have made an addiction and a religion out of their recovery program. And that's not fixing the problem in my eyes. That's just replacing the addiction with another addiction. Which it might be a healthier addiction. Don't get me wrong. but it's replacing one addiction with another addiction. Like, you see those people who go to like 5 12-step meetings a fucking week, and you're like, if you want to fix this, if you want to change it, can't you just move on?
You have to want to change inside as well as external, and you cannot blame others for your choices. You really need to be like, well, I did this. I mean, people might have affected it or been an effect of it happening, but you have to be like, well, this is my responsibility. I need to take responsibility for myself and how I act within the world and what I do. The opportunities may be there, and if they're not there, you take them elsewhere. You do not replace them with something else. Fair enough if you need something little to cope with it, for a little while. But after that, you have to make an agreement with yourself to be like, nope, I'm done. This is it. And we are moving on. So, speaking of moving on, let's go back.
Speaking of moving on, but really quick, Beryl and Josh, my favorite quote of all time. Ben Franklin, all things in moderation, including moderation.
Yep. Very much so. As he lights a cigarette. The irony, darling, the irony. Anyway, but what were we talking about? We were talking about deception, age, end of the story.
We're talking about Thor and Loki's little adventure with the giants.
The giants.
Eating,
old age, all the things, all the mortality of life. And that basically humans need us as God needs, like, God needs us as much as we need them type deal, like, for them to live.
Well, also there's another common motif in all sorts of mythologies with trickster gods, the ones who can deny themselves pleasures are the ones who move forward, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the ones who cannot are always going to be stuck in the same fucking place. Loki is always going to be stuck in the same fucking place. Hermes, on the other hand, the day he was born, he, going back to some Greek mythology, he stole Apollo's cattle. And he was really clever about it. He put brushes on the back of all their feet and herded them backwards to where he lived. And then he sacrificed, sometimes one, sometimes two, it depends on the writer, of the cattle to all the gods. And also to himself. And he did not eat any of the meat from the cattle. And then Apollo shows up and he's like, dude, you stole my fucking cows. And Hermes is like, I'm a baby. I couldn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. And he took the guts of one of the cows and a tortoise. I've always felt so bad for that fucking tortoise. Because it was just like this tortoise crawling around outside of his cave that he and his mom were in. His illegitimate mom, because Zeus is Zeus.
Yeah.
And, so he killed the tortoise, took its shell, took the guts from the cows, made a lyre. He's playing this thing. And Apollo walks up. He's like, dude, you stole my cows. And Hermes is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a day old. I'm a fucking baby. Like,
it's awesome.
But on the same note, the entire point, at least to me, is when he made that sacrifice, he didn't eat any of the meat. These things are left for humans, for people, for those who cannot become gods, those who are not gods. I'm gonna keep, and so Hermes, like plays out pretty well. On the other hand, Prometheus just tries to do his fucking thing, and well, your liver's getting eaten out by a condor. I'd like to have a new liver every day. I mean, that'd be awesome. But yeah, we probably shouldn't get into that.
Yeah, that's another tangent waiting to happen.
But Loki is the kind of trickster god who like fucks himself just as often as he makes half of the problems that he fixes, and
destruction. He's
chaos. I would say even more than destruction, just chaos, just like chaos for the sake of chaos, and it's it's destructive, but in being destructive, it's also self-destructive. But so Loki can't eat faster than this god, and he's it's hunger, and all these things that Loki and Thor try and win. Like Yunka Loki is just so much more clever. He's like, yeah, well, he's not going to win that race because he's racing against time. Like, hey, I always like more clever, right? Not necessarily smarter, but I like more clever.
There's difference between smart and clever.
I always think that there's intelligence, cleverness, and wisdom, and they're very different things.
Oh yeah, and very rarely does a person have like all three.
Oh no, I can tell you all 26 chemicals in these things that are going to kill me.
Oh yeah.
I'm not wise enough to quit smoking.
Cancer sticks.
Cancer sticks, exactly.
So moving on, so all these people, all these characters are defeated by this illusion, by these illusions that they build up in themselves. They're self-grandizing, dissolute illusions that they have taught themselves, their truths that they have taught themselves to think that they are now impervious to certain things, that they can eat as much as they can and drink as much as they can, and also outrun time or old age and things like that. But they can't, and that's the immortal truth of being immortal, is mortality will catch up to you, regardless of who you are, regardless of your mythos and your tales and your legends, that life and death happen and everything in between. And you should not let your ego outgrow you and your own mythology. Like it's a cautionary tale. It's reality. It's the truth everybody needs to hear and deal with eventually. And you find in the story that even Thor is quiet. Thor is quiet, slowly gripping Mjolnir, but he's thinking about it. He's really thinking about it. And it's the first time you really get to see Thor thinking properly, in total somberness, thinking about age, thinking about what he's drunk most of the sea. He hasn't drunk most of the weed. He's literally drunk most of the sea. And he creates the tides, the ebb and flow of the waters. They come back and forth, just like life and death.
Right.
All these different metaphors are in here.
And also, there's the whole concept that Loki thinks he's more intelligent than everybody.
Yeah.
And he loses. And Thor thinks that he's tougher than everybody. And he loses. And that poor kid, what's his name? Falfy.
Mm-hmm.
Thinks he's faster. And he loses. And there's this entire point. I've always said, I don't know if in the UK, when you were in in grammar school, in phys ed, did you play dodgeball?
You mean high school?
What, did you just skip straight to high school? You never played? You didn't have
No,
phys ed as a child?
we had. So let me just like sort out the education system in Scotland and England are different, and they change slightly over the years. So it's nursery first, which is like between 2 and 3 and 4. And then when you hit 4 or 5, you start primary school. That's primary 1 to 7. So that's 7 years. So yes, we do get phys ed. I don't think we ever really did dodgeball. We did a lot of gymnastics stuff. We did.
Are you familiar with dodgeball? Are you familiar with the premise
Yeah.
behind it?
We did in high school. We did high school, but I think they eventually stopped it because like we all were pretty nasty to each other.
I think it is the most important lesson you learn out of all of school. Grammar school, high school, undergraduate, graduate, postgraduate, PhD, the most important thing you're ever going to learn, you learn in gym class. At least for us in America, is like 3rd grade, 4th grade. And that's out of a class of 50 people. There are going to be 49 losers. And you're probably going to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And once you can deal with and adapt to that and accept it and move on, good. Because you're ready to become part of society.
But even with like sports in general, when you're coming to doing your assessments, your grades and stuff like that, it becomes more and more and more important as you get older, and it's reinforced to you that it is. Like maybe some kids will adapt to just like, yeah, I'm close in whatever, and they'll be like me, and the report cards they'll have has lots of potential, but spends most of the day daydreaming or quiet in a corner somewhere. It's me, because the mum I had, no, she's terrible, but just the person she was. And then the class that I had, I just did not fit in. But I had moments where I was very much with it. I mean, flashcard moments where we were learning French and we learned all the different French words for different foods. There was like 30, 40 cards on the table, and I was the only one to put my hand up in the class to do the guessing game. And I literally got like 39 out of the 40 correct. I only got one wrong. And it's the only time I've ever seen the whole class turn around to me in absolute awe, because I never had chances like that to be like, this is me. This is my dodgeball. Oh, you guys are failing this.
Right.
It's like boom,
and,
boom, boom, boom.
And that's the metaphor I'm trying to make. It's when you can accept that you might be great at something, and then a lot of other things you're a fucking failure.
Maths.
Like, when you can accept that, that's when you really start to grow. And I think that's what this story is about.
Yep.
I think especially long term, Loki has some realizations here, especially after what they did to his fucking kids. I mean, seriously, like yeah, they might be weird, but they're my kids. I mean, my kid's weird. He's does some things that I don't agree with, but when you can accept that, I think that's one of the problems we have in our modern culture is that A, we expect for our kids to be great at everything, and B, we expect when they aren't great at everything for somebody to kiss their fucking ass about it. Like I know I'm getting off on another fucking tangent, but yeah, it's like participation trophy bullshit. Like, what's the point? What's the point?
Absolutely.
I swam and I played baseball as a youth, and in swimming competitions, I had for 9 years that I swam, I had 3 blue ribbons. And they mean the fucking world to me. Like, I still have them. I still have them here in my house. They mean the fucking world to me because I worked that hard to get that and did it. Baseball is a team sport, so it's a little different because I was always on a team that really fucking sucked. And I was just a catcher. So
I didn't really do sports.
But still, it's it's that marginalized recognition of mediocrity. And at least to me, it might be a generational thing for me. I'm not sure. But like, I would not want an award for just participating in something. Like, if it did not do well enough, then I don't fucking deserve it. Oh, hey, you woke up and went to work today. Well, yeah, so did like 7 billion people across the fucking planet.
That they are, right. That's a personal achievement, especially if you're suffering or going through shit, right? That's a personal achievement. Not that it should be outwardly rewarded with like a certificate and a medal, but internally, that should be like, right, I'm having a shit time right now. I've managed to get up, get dressed, wash myself, take care of myself, and get to work, do what I need to do, and come home and make sure the bills are paid. Minimum.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. But I'm talking, you don't need magna cum fucking law about this shit. You know, and that's one of the things that I think is so great about the story. Like, is that, you know, these characters think that they can do anything, and Yuka Loki is just like, oh yeah, go ahead. And it's so funny. It's so funny how he ends it, because he like tells them, like, he gives the reveal. It's you don't read mystery novels very much, do you?
Not really, no.
I really enjoy mystery novels. I got it from my grandmother. I also got a lot of first print Agatha Christie novels from my grandmother. But
good old Agatha Christie.
I'm not giving out my address because I've actually looked up what some of those are worth. And I don't want my house broken into.
I used to actually watch a lot of Poirot when I was younger, like the TV show with what's the guy's name? I can't remember. Something Sushi. It was his last name. But I used to watch a lot of Poirot when I was younger. It was on during the daytime. I loved Poirot. It's like, I am not French, I'm Belgian. I love that. His big moustache and everything. It's perfect. Absolutely sublime. Loved him.
Now, you say you don't watch Vera, though, which I would think you would love. I mean, Northumbria is a little bit south of Scotland, but not much.
I don't know.
Yeah, check out Vera. I think probably the best mystery show that's on air right now. It's good stuff. It's forensic crime show, but it's I think leaps and bounds better than a lot of what is out there. Cool. It's fun. I like solving the mystery. I feel so good when I do it before, like, the end of the show. I'm like, I got it.
Right, so basically it's a lesson philosophically.
Yes, oh my God, we're so off topic.
I know. I'll try to keep us on track now. So we've basically covered this part of the story.
Yes.
There's only so many tangents we can go on without it turning into a 9-hour stream, and I'm not willing to stay up that long. So, because it is like 10:30 here at night, I don't have anything to do, so I can stay on longer, which is great, than I usually would. So we're moving on now to, what one are we moving on to? The apples one?
Yes. Unless you have any other last thoughts about this.
No, I thought it was actually all very encompassing and fitting and well put in and well thought. And anybody who's listening to the audiobook or has the audiobook will easily get it, even if they're busy doing something. I mean, if you're not into reading, audiobooks are the next step up, and Neil Gaiman audiobooks are pretty badass. So go check it out.
Yeah, my dad's a writer, and he actually listens to audiobooks more than he reads.
Mm-hmm.
Just because for him, that's the best way to disseminate information.
So, the apples of the
I
gods.
do have to say, before we start with the apples, the last paragraph of this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But Thor said nothing. He was thinking about the night before, and wrestling old age, and drinking the sea. He was thinking about the Midgar serpent.
Nice.
I think that might have a little influence on something a little bit later. Before we go into the next chapter, I'm going to get up for a moment. Why don't you plug your channel?
Hell yeah, plug, 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 plug. Me. Okay, let's do this, guys. Wow, he wanders off to go do what he needs to do, get the business done. You guys can do us a favor by taking this stream link and sharing it across your social media. It would be greatly appreciated. If you are watching this back, thank you for watching it and thank you for making it this far into the stream. I am Lauren from Lauren's Corner. I do poetry, I do interviews, I do book analysis and reviews, etc. Go check that out. I've got a few good plans in the works for my channel. I might be changing how I do certain things, but we'll see where that goes. So just go and check it out. Stay tuned. You've got lots of hours of content there to get through and be a part of. And there's an interview with John St. Baptiste in my Asking Questions Season 1 you should go check out as well. It's a very different man to what he is now, so you can see that. Second of all, share. I've already said this. Share it out. Get this out. Get people in. Leave in the comments. Smash that like button. I'm sure Mr. Baptiste would absolutely enjoy that. I also have books. On Amazon. Look them up. Warren Cullen. And you can type up Crazy Diamond, or you can type up Honest Poetry or Break the Chain. You'll get my books there. The next book will be out very shortly. Probably maybe before the new year or after the new year. But you have to say subscribe to my channel or my Instagram, Lauren_poetry, to be alerted when that's about to drop and get sneak peeks as well. If you are a Patreon of mine, you will get Patreon only poetry, early access to some of my content, and a few other bits and pieces as well. You should definitely go check that out. Also, while I'm here, let's plug the homies. My homies, Johnny Be Crazy, now the House of the Dragon. You should go check him out as well. He's got lots of content on Watchmen at the moment, and we'll be filling in with a lot of different things from The Witcher and whatnot.
I can never make his Watchmen episodes because I'm working. I'm always working on Monday night. And I made one. I was actually able to participate, but
Can I finish plugging?
I'm sorry.
It's cool.
I was just I was complimenting what you said.
I know.
Go ahead. Go on with your plug.
So, the House of the Dragon with Johnny Be Crazy, doing a lot of Watchmen content right now. Very rewatchable, very, very good. Lots more content coming from him. Mackenzie L. Burns as well. She does a lot of content. She's currently covering Harlots right now. You should go check that out. And also the Cylon Johns and the Cylon Jills on a regular basis covering Battlestar Galactica. If you're a big fan of that, go check that out as well because they're absolutely hilarious. If you think that we've been on one massive tangent this whole stream, you should definitely go check out their live streams. I've even magically popped on one or two, which is really, really fun. And I can't always make them on because they're always on about 3 o'clock in the morning my time, and I'm usually asleep by then. So those things are happening. if you have any friends you think would be interested in any of our channels, go check that out. Finally, I wanted to give a shout out to my Hand of the Queen, Alicia Kingston, who I usually do some live streams with on her channel, and Ginger Ale chat with the girls. Now that chat's wilder than this one has been. Less kind of literary and academic, more kind of street, and getting into the nitty gritty. And just doing watch throughs of different things and shows and whatnot. I'm all about the community. I'm just a little quiet right now. So these are all the people you should be checking out. These are all the people who are up and coming and trying to make something and build a community around all these different things and be just really a friendly, hopeful piece of life and escapism for everybody out there. I mean, that's what I hope it will be. And like we all work extremely hard to bring you all this content, and we are greatly appreciated for any followers, any subscriptions, any comments that you leave, because they make each and every one of our days. And it builds friendships, it builds a future of some sort of degree and influence. I mean, I wouldn't be here at this point without Mr. Baptiste, nor Johnny, nor Mackenzie, nor Alicia, nor anybody else in the Game of Thrones community and my subscribers, etc. So this year is all about appreciation. So this plug is full of appreciation, not just plugging me, but everybody else, and that's mostly important. And can I just say, if you're a subscriber of this channel, get sharing the content out every time a video drops. Put it onto your media, onto whatever social media you have, and get more eyes on this man, because he knows what he's talking about. He knows his books. He knows his music. He knows everything. He's got the intelligence of a god, a flawed god. He's like a Norse god.
Not Thor. I hope you're not relating me to Thor.
No, it's not Thor.
I haven't rubbed my hammer in a few years, so.
Okay, continue. I'm going to die now.
Saw what I did there, didn't you? Oh, I just made a Scottish woman snot laugh.
No,
Fucking
man,
win.
Coughing. I was coughing.
No, you snot laughed. I totally sorry. You snot laughed.
I cough laughed. It wasn't a snot laugh. It was cough laugh. But that's the tea, everybody. That's the tea right there. John's not rubbed his hammer for a good while.
Yes. All of these channels that Lauren has mentioned support. Also, I would say definitely Justin Thomas fandom, because he is awesome. He's so supportive of other content creators.
I recently did a live stream.
I mean, there's so many great creators out there. So many great people who are doing things, and they're doing things that aren't just. I really appreciate the people who have been able to get past the end of Game of Thrones being on air and are doing something else, and maybe creating something else, and maybe talking about something else, because I love me some GRM, but there are a lot of other authors out there. There are a lot of other shows out there. There are a lot of other movies out there.
Yep, exactly. Like I just discussed as well, I'll be looking into covering some Grant Morrison comic books. Not maybe the well-known ones, but some of the ones that are a bit more obscure, because they have more technical and literary references in them that I've picked up on reading one or two of them. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of good content creators right there, like Justin Thomas, Top Shelf Fandom. Like I recently did a stream with him on The Crown. I think we've still to do a couple more streams on that. But The Crown's a really good TV show to watch. I mean, it's a history lesson and it's entertainment in one go. And Justin can talk out the wazoo. We did an understanding poetry stream, which was mostly just Justin talking, but it was cool. It was cool. I tried to get him to kind of understand. He's very well. He was curious It's the first time I've came across somebody who's very curious about poetry and wanted to learn from me and saw me as the expert, which was hilarious. But, it was a really good stream. Like, so if you want more content like that, to be curious, to educate yourself, things like that.
Oh, I know how you feel. People think I'm an expert on music. I know music. I study music. I know a lot about music. I would not consider myself an expert.
See, this is where that story comes in with Thor and Loki having their life lesson about ego. This is where we differ perhaps from some other people. Like we are nerdy, but we don't realize how nerdy we are. We don't realize how well informed we are. Like I've listened back to some of my videos and I'm like, is this me? Is this really me? I'm hell of a formative. This is impressive. And that's just who I am. That's always who I've been. I don't realize how intelligent I am or what the abilities I have are till, someone recognizes and say, hey, by the way, you're like wickedly smart or intelligent, things like that. But even then, it's like, I'm
Oh,
not.
it's always good when you make something and then somebody says that's great. And you still have the humility to say it could have been better.
Like recently with my university scores, my friends were like all trying to pet me and say, oh, but you passed. I went, this is not the thing that I want. Okay. I'm not going to let you sit here and pet me. I will not have it. I will not be petted into submission of just coasting through where I've been given great privilege to be at university, to be in the position that I am. And it's like, do you take up the weight of that and your expectations and stuff like once your expectations like that's your time to shine and rise up, or and just to be like, nobody's petting me, oh, it's okay. No, I'm not having that. Don't patronize me. I had to tell a few friends off about that. It's like, if I want to get past where I am right now and improve, then I must grow. I must force myself to work harder, and I cannot have you agreeing with me to pet me to make me feel better, because you're not going to help me in the slightest. And the minute they got that through their head, and the minute they came to that realization, it was like, well, okay, well, what about this, and this? So that's the growth that you need to have. That's the challenge, the augmentation that needs to happen. When it clicks for you, when you say, no, it's not good enough. And it's not a case of, oh, I'm terrible at this. It's like, I am disappointed in myself. And this is terrible. And I need to find out what's going
If
wrong.
it's not perfect, it's not good enough. Barry Island Josh right here. This is fucking brilliant. People tell me my art is great, but all I can see are the flaws.
Yep.
Yeah, I understand that. My third day at my new job, I had a secret shopper. I don't know if other people have that in other parts of the world or the country or whatever. Mm-hmm. There are people who come in and I get an 83%. It was my third day there. I wasn't even properly out of training. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. And my manager was like, "Oh, you got an 83 on your secret shopper," and I'm like, "Well, that's a fucking C."
Right.
So on the average, look at this luxurious hair. I am not average, and I should not be getting a fucking C.
That's the same for me. Like, the level of work I was putting into my essays was not matching up to the scores I was getting. And even my lecturers and tutors were saying, we know you're a meaningful, hard-working student. It's just not equating to your essays, how you're writing them. It's just like, what? I'm banging my head against a wall repeatedly. And it's just like, what point do you say you just stop doing that and just turn around, sit down, and actually look at what you've done? And go, well, these are the flaws. This is what I need to fix. This is what I need to change. And then take a chance on that and see what happens. Because if you just keep looking at the flaws and don't do anything about it, you're just going to be in the same cycle of self-destruction. You're not going to.
What you do is you look at the flaws and you fucking fix it.
Yeah.
And we're both, well, I'm a post-literature student. you're a current literature student, but your best professors, it's as long as you back this up, I'm going to grade you well. I might totally fucking disagree with you. Like, I would not personally, there are a number of authors that if I went back and finished my degree and got my master's and started teaching, there are a number of authors that I would not want to teach. But I would, because it'd be part of my fucking job. And B, I want to see people's thoughts and opinions about this. And the authors I want to teach, I want to see your thoughts and opinions about this. And if it's very different from what I think, long as you back it up, I got you. You know, if you can pull out of your fucking ass that Paradise Lost is about fascist dictatorship, I've seen a paper about it. I'm not joking. I've seen a paper about it.
I'm trying. Can you see my facial expression? I'm trying to work that out. I'm just like, well, maybe it has a small point.
Long before we actually had fascists or dictators. Well, we had dictators. But if you can pull that out of your ass and you can back it up, I'm going to grade you well.
It's about the argument, necessarily.
I might disagree with everything you fucking say, but I'm going to grade you well. All right, let's talk about the apples of immortality.
The apples.
Did everybody bring their apples to class today?
It has no apples. I'm running out of apples. But I still look really young, so we're good. I'm only 22, honest.
She is 22. I've seen her birth certificate. I forged it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen it. I have no idea where it came from.
I'm 22 with a 14-year-old daughter, so work that one out.
I would never forge anything. I would never lie, cheat, or steal. I don't do those things.
Viva la raza. Lie.
Viva la Loki.
Oh, Jesus.
See, because that's the thing. I'm not a smart trickster god. I'm not like Raven or Hermes. I'm like dumb like Loki and Prometheus.
If you had to associate me with a god, who would you choose for me?
Just go with the deity. Any mythos.
And chat, who would you
any mythos.
Any mythos, yeah. Athena.
Yeah.
Nice. That's actually one of the other
You're
ones.
a war goddess who doesn't like fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's very accurate. Totes. Very, very accurate, actually. Like,
it's like I'm Bacchus. Did you see me on my purple robe?
No.
For the final episode of American Gods?
I did see that.
Yeah, I had a purple fucking toga.
Nice. No, like Athena was one of the other ones I had kind of in the back of my mind when I was mentioning like goddesses earlier, but like Aphrodite, Venus, Bast, and Bastet, they're always the ones that come up.
Aphrodite's a fucking cunt.
She's a bit of a cunt.
I can't think. Oh, I love the fact that half of the people in the chat are in parts of the world that I can say that word and it's not going to offend them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Aphrodite's a fucking cunt. I mean, seriously. Once again, I know you've not read the Iliad, but read the Iliad, and you can make some more of it.
I meant the long hair with the naturalness and the wind and the clamshell and stuff. I know that she's a bit of a bitch sometimes, you know.
Bit of a bitch.
I'm being nice, okay?
That's like calling me a bit tall.
A bit tall. You huge. I called you lurchy earlier on.
No, like calling Aphrodite a bit of a bitch is like calling me a bit tall.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Aphrodite's an F and C.
She has a very fine CUNT.
See you next Tuesday.
Of the highest, very most virtuosos, like fucking order. Just
see, always been my issue with that deity in specific, and we need to get back on topic, but I do want to bring this up. My issue with that deity in specific, and Aphrodite is based on Ishtar. Aphrodite's an imported god. Imported from Babylon.
yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people. Dionysus is an imported god. Pan is an imported god. There are a number of deities that in Greek religion that are actually imported from other parts of what was considered the Hellenistic world. But Aphrodite, I can't think of a single redeeming quality she has.
So the idealism of her being in the clamshell and stuff like that is just like a false kind of premise just to make her pretty, overshadowing all the ugliness on the inside.
I am not condemning human desire for another person by making this statement. Lust is ugly.
It is.
And Aphrodite is not the goddess of love. She's the goddess of lust. And lust is desire, and desire leads to want, and want leads to need, and need leads to hate, and hate leads to anger. And I mean, you watch the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, and you read the Iliad, it's like almost the same fucking story.
Absolutely. I mean, but do you think that perhaps the Greek gods that were basically taken from other mythos have like two sides to them? Do you think, or are they a one-sided god, or have they been made that way when they've been bastardized from another source for a specific reason?
I think they were simplified. You have to take into account Dionysus is a foreign deity. Aphrodite is a foreign deity. Outside of that, the majority of the deities in the Greek pantheon were Greek deities. You know, but if you look at it, it kind of gives you a clue into what that culture was.
Yeah.
Like Zeus was a serial rapist. Poseidon, oh my gosh, poor Medusa. Like Medusa, I mean, she was devoted devoted to Athena. And she got raped. And Athena let her go. The Greek gods are like the most unkind people who have ever existed.
They have little empathy. They don't really have empathy.
No, it's like what I was talking about. I mean, they're humans with bigger ability to do shit, but they're still humans. Eh, like my personal view of God, which I don't elaborate on very often, but I am a practicing Roman Catholic, and my personal view of God is very that this was a person who didn't take advantage of his power and his position and so forth. In fact, when he was offered the fucking world, he said, no, I'm good. No, I'm good. Hold on to it.
Yeah.
Which is very different. And I'm not saying that one mentality is better than another. Seriously, I'm not trying to offend anybody out there. But it's very different. I think that your Greek and your Norse deities are very, they're just bigger people. There's nothing divine about them.
Mm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
They're just like bigger people. Like, yeah, I've stolen shit in my life. Well, Hermes is more of that.
Absolutely.
I've which the one thing that actually getting back into the if we ever get back into the book, Odin is the one guy who really sacrifices his shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he sacrifices his eye. He sacrifices his part of himself. And one of the things that I've always found intriguing about Norse mythology is that a god has to pay back their worshippers, which you don't see in most polytheistic religions.
Absolutely. It's a very
answering prayers is one thing, but like actually pay back, like, I'm plucking out my eye. If I'm gonna have absolute wisdom, God, can you think about that? I don't want to think about the noise it would make. I think I'm rich.
Yeah. Just best not. But to the story at hand, I mean, yeah, he sacrifices a lot. And the overall kind of ending to the chapter, with the big ego giant being totally incinerated, but Odin makes compensation rather than war. He would rather have compensation than war, where he compensates the giant's daughter, and the giant is given proper funeral rites, and his eyes are made into the sky and given position with among the stars.
Yes.
And the daughter is given a husband. She's not happy with him at first, But once Loki pays his penance and basically makes a fool of himself to make her laugh, she finally finds love, finds joy in that laughter, and reaches out to her husband, who she thought was unsightly. He wasn't the most beautiful god that there was, but she eventually just slowly touches his hand and smiles and kind of looks over to him and stuff. It's that nice little happy ending of, you have what you have now. You might have lost all this, but we have gave you all of this. This is a compensation. We have taken
Right.
this from you, even though it's not initially our fault. But we are going to set this right and make you part of the family. We're going to create an alliance, and work you into the story, the soul of our family, more or less. Um, so, like, it's a very equilateral. It's very much equality within it, between the humans, the gods, the giants, that type of thing. Um, and I think that's what makes these stories so good and so enjoyable in comparison to other mythos, is that you is relatable. It's you have something to relate to. It's not just one all powerful being and you have to bow down to them in every sense of the word, or they're not going about like serially raping or whatever and being unsympathetic, unempathetic. There's empathy within the Norse gods. There's humanity within the Norse gods. There's mortality.
There's
And
also cruelty,
yeah, there's cruelty.
but
There's
it's not mindless cruelty like there are in a lot of Mediterranean religions.
yeah,
Like you have like Greek and Babylonian, Sumerian, and even to an extent your monotheistic religions like Christianity and all your Abrahamic religions. Like there's a certain level of cruelty. Whereas Norse gods, it's kind of like you just get paid off.
yeah.
And then on the same note, it's like straight across the fucking board. Like it even says there, if you're a man and you don't die in combat, you're not going to Valhalla. Like you might have been the greatest warrior of all time, but if you die from cirrhosis or whatever,
Like even the Viking punishments as well. Like if you do something against your clan or your people, and it's really really fucked up. I mean, they'll enact in revenge the blood eagle, and most people who've seen Vikings know what the blood eagle is, and it was a real thing. And I mean, if you, it comes back to that.
you know the Vikings didn't actually invent that. Actually came from the Mongols. The Vikings just made it better
But the
so
thing
that
that,
somebody could stay alive longer.
yeah, the thing that I found really even worse than the actual punishment itself was you could not make a sound. You had to take your punishment with dignity, and if you made a sound, then you wouldn't go to power. You have to die as a warrior, being punished in this way, and blah blah blah. Which I think is real consequences for someone's actions. I mean, to feel the literal pain of what you've caused to other people, but 10 times or 100 times that, it's it's true. I think in their eyes, it's true justice, you know. But the cycle of revenge keeps going and going. So that's why I think they have the two sides of the coin. You can go for vengeance and war, or you can go for the compensation aspect, to keep peace and make alliances and stuff like that. It's political as well as like a moral type thing. And I think that's where the Norse mythology goes over and above some of the other mythos that we have in the world. Not saying it's perfect, but if and folktale lore and stuff like that, it's far more enjoyable to read about and fascinating to read about than say Christianity or something as simplistic as that. I mean, for as much as the Greek gods are really messed up, and I mean really messed up, and I'm being nice about this, they are interesting. They're interesting. They're complex. They're complicated. Same with the Roman gods, even though that the Roman gods are more or less just a copy of the Greek gods. But that's a political aspect in itself.
Is they're disseminated to us. I mean, you have the Etruscan deities that those names come from, but the majority of their ballywhack was combined with Greek gods, because Greek was like you have to think in like 200 BC, speaking Roman was considered like hillbilly, even in Etrusca. Like speaking Greek, that meant you were civilized. So they took the initiation of Roman religion had a lot more to do with household deities. I mean, they did have their big gods that they took points from, but their big thing was household deities. Like I would have a deity of my desk. I would have a deity of my computer, which, by the way, we're computer twins because Lauren showed me the best computer I could ever get. Mine's better because it has a steal your face skull.
Are you actually enjoying your laptop now?
I love my fucking laptop.
Cool, because there was some confusion. We have the exact same laptop, but mine's maybe slightly better camera wise, and which
I got my own camera. It's even better.
Camera upgrades. So
no, the one on mine personally is actually rubbish.
Yeah,
but I got a camera for like $7 at Target. It
does the job.
Yeah, it does the job. It makes me look as pretty as I can look.
Yeah, these laptops are the tits. I mean, I was going to go for something completely different until my mum.
Fucking cat's tits.
I know. There's plenty of them. So yeah, like my stepdad used to have a lot of Lenovo stuff, and it's lasted for ages. And this thing, like, runs Xbox games, it runs other PC games, it runs like so much at the same time. And the difference between this laptop and the one I had before is it doesn't sound like it's about to take off with the cooling fan. That old Dell laptop seems like a giant beast of a thing now compared to this. Like, I actually take this to uni with me. I've now broken that thing where I don't take it out of the house. It's been to the States. It comes to uni with me. I've gotten more attached to it. I've got a game controller for it and everything. I've got 2 types of different like game units. Where I've got like Steam, I've got Oracle, and a bunch of other stuff to play different games on it. It's awesome. I love it.
Steam needs to get a better facilitator for controllers. Like, it really pisses me off because there are a lot of games on Steam that I want to play, and their controller sync is just fucking awful.
See, I've got a USB controller that I just plug in, and like it looks like a PlayStation controller.
Yeah, no, that's what I have. But it's like, for example, I have Morrowind on my computer, and I don't even play it because like I spent all the fucking money to download it because it's probably my 3rd favorite RPG of all time, and I can't adapt the controls to the controller, and I hate playing mouse and button games. Like you and I are. I mean, I'm. Well, you're only 22, so I'm like 20 years older than you. But
22.
I like console controllers, and I like to just sit down and play with fucking console controller. I don't want to do this mouse and LGB like all
thing either. I like the controller.
Yeah.
If I'm playing like a world building game, like say I'm playing The Sims, then I'll use my mouse. Like I've got like a mini mouse, USB mouse that I have that I use for that specifically. Or if I'm lazy in bed, I'm like halfway across the bed and I can't be bothered touching the touchpad on the laptop. I'm just like, just use that. Click things. Put up the.
May I ask a favor of you?
What?
I name everything. Like I name Like, all my cars have names. Every computer I've ever had has a name. Will you name my mouse?
Your mouse. Prometheus. There you go.
Prometheus. Okay. There you go.
The mouse. It might work sometimes, but sometimes it's an uphill battle.
Actually, my mouse works very well. I just hate gaming on it. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so the Apples of Immortality. There's something that's brought into this story that you don't see in other mythologies, and that's that the gods can get old.
Yeah.
They can age. They gotta worry about this fucking shit. Like, they have the same problems we do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Zeus has the same problems we do if our name is Bill Cosby. But otherwise, probably not. Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad. It was funny. It was funny.
Yeah. I actually thought that the apples reminded me of, I don't know if this is legit canon or not, but ambrosia. The god's ambrosia, like it's I think it might be Greek or Roman, I can't remember.
Yeah, nectar and ambrosia.
Yep, that's something that made someone into a god or made them live longer or something like that. I can't remember.
It keeps them young, but it doesn't keep them immortal. The big difference is that the Norse gods are technically not immortal.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, actually. But that what makes them, I don't know, maybe a bit more special, a bit more open-minded, relative, relatable.
Yeah. Okay. I could definitely follow that.
Where I don't think I could relate myself to the majority of any Greek gods or Roman gods or things like that. You know, I mean, you associated me with Athena only because you had to be chosen. I could actually definitely see that. But I don't think I could relate myself actually physically to any of the Greek gods or the Roman gods. Maybe not even the Egyptian gods. Sometimes I don't even relate well to Christianity. But when it comes to listening to the tales about the Norse gods, maybe because they're interesting, they're fun, they're so out there, but they're not too out there to be like pure evil. Visceral, yeah. You have a certain amount of relation to them. Well, I've been in this position before. I've been in this position, or I've lied, I've cheated, I've stolen, or I've created a situation that's worse that I didn't start, and blah blah blah, and I'd ask for help. And you know, we all live on a finite amount of time. We need each other. Like, I need you just like you need me, but it doesn't focus completely on our lives. But we need that friendship, that alliance to be able to grow within each other. Say, hey, you know, this is not right, or you know, Lauren, I don't think you're doing this right, or John, I don't think you're doing that. It's the point where we stop and give each other a bit of wisdom, you know, life. And I think that's what the Norse gods give, as wisdom, as life, as lessons, as philosophy, essentially. But something that's very down to earth philosophy. It's not high end philosophy that you would see maybe in an old Christian Bible, or something that needs a lot of like time and effort to plunge through text. The subtext within Norse mythology is very evident. I mean, I challenge anyone to read that and not come away with at least a good couple of pointers for their own life.
Well, there's also there's the whole example of earthy, for lack of a better term, logic.
Yeah.
Like, if I were a Nord 1,000 years ago, I would probably have worshipped Odin. I wouldn't have the same concept of divinity that I do, given my current beliefs, because I can see the flaws, because I can see the faults. because these deities are more human,
Mm-hmm.
but they aren't offensively human like a lot of your Mediterranean deities are, which are like offensively, like think of a bad trait that a Greek or a Roman or Babylonian or Sumerian or Etruscan god doesn't have. Like they're all. I mean, it's like we were talking about at the beginning of this. Like the Iliad is just like a bunch of bitchy kids fighting over some shit. It's like a bunch of bitchy teenagers.
Totes.
Next time you watch Clash of the Titans or anything involving Greek, just think about bitchy teenagers fighting over.
I've seen a few of those films. Yeah, I totally see it. It's basically like a high school. They're cliques and they're just like fighting with each other and then making love with each other and then swapping positions and it's like a game of musical chairs. You know.
Yeah, and Zeus is still Bill Cosby.
We have been on for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Do you want to start wrapping this up?
Yeah, we probably ought to.
Yeah.
I know I'm keeping you up rather late.
Yeah. Discuss with me, Milton.
The apples of immortality. Any final thoughts?
I thought it was a really good kind of all-rounder along with the last story.
Because we haven't even really got into the whole story of it. We've just got
we're skirting around it. It's a generalization with a bit of discussion and tangents involved in. And if you've made it this far, congratulations, you know. This is just us. So, but no, I really enjoyed this story. It's very profound. It's equilateral. It has everything you need to relate to it. It has political associations in it. It has philosophy. It has pretty much everything I like in it. So I'm interested in. And the poetry one, the mead of poetry is perfect, and the one with the one after that is really good as well. I mean, they're all very good philosophical, down to earth tales that we can all get with and learn from, and not take 100% as gospel, but they're humanists as well, which makes it even better. Because if you can make humor out of something bad, a bad situation that eventually works out, that's the best one of the best outcomes you can get. If you can laugh at yourself, if you can laugh at that, then you grow as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said, you've known me for quite some time. If you can't laugh at yourself, you're wasting your fucking life.
Yep.
Because you do stupid shit. And if you can't laugh when you do stupid shit, please. Like, you're taking yourself way too seriously. Quote that I would like to read from this chapter. So that's who that was, said Loki to himself. I knew it wasn't just an eagle. He made his way home, hoping vaguely that nobody would notice that Idun and her apples were gone, but that if they did, it would be long after anyone would connect her disappearance with Loki taking Idun to the forest. Like, I think this is a nice way to kind of go into finish the so much of it's really interesting. One of the most interesting things about Norse mythology is what we have to read comes from the Prose Edda and the Poetic Edda.
Yeah.
And those were written after the Christianization of Iceland. And so there is so much that you have to sit and ask yourself, was this influenced by this? Was this not? Is this original? Is this changed? you have Snorri Sturluson and Erkinga, and you wonder, but one of the things I love about this book, one of the things I think is brilliant about this book is that Gaiman kind of keeps that all ambiguous. He makes it sound like mythology. And by the mythology, I mean like stories that somebody tells to somebody that tells to somebody that tells to somebody that, gets changed in each revision, but the message I think is still there. And, I love that quote. It's like, it was, but it wasn't, and it is, but it isn't. And that's just kind of what I do because I'm Loki. But you wonder, in the original concepts of Norse mythology, was Loki that way? Was he a lot more wicked? Or was he like just more benign? Or was he like kind of, the dog that fucked himself in the ass all the time, like we get out of Norse mythology? I mean, dude got his lips shown shut. I say some pretty offensive shit, and I've never had my lips sewn shut.
Absolutely. Not yet, anyway.
You've wanted to once or twice, I'm sure.
Probably. With good reason, though, not without warrant. But, at times it can be a bit overwhelming. But that's just who you are. It's just part of the learning curve. It's part of the growth. It's part of everything that comes with life. I mean, there's probably some stupid shit that I've said in the past, that I think back on and be like, maybe I should have just kept my eyes shut, So we're not all innocent of that. I mean,
but that's the difference between Loki and us. Loki never thinks back and says, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
He never thinks back and says, I shouldn't have done that. Loki thinks back and says, how do I fix this now? Like if I said something to you that you found offensive, I would contact you and I would say, Lauren, I'm really sorry. That was wrong of me to say. Like, I didn't at the time think that it was an offensive thing to say, but I apologize because I know you personally were offended. Loki's just like, oh, hey, I'm going to fix this.
There's no apology really from him. It's just, this is who I am, deal with.
Loki of the Band-Aids.
Totes. Right. I think we've reached the end of our discussion. So overall, these couple chapters were amazing. And I really enjoyed like all of them. I loved listening to them back. It wasn't like, you know how you can get homework and it's just like homework. This is really enjoyable homework. And it's really good to sit and listen to or while you're doing stuff. And I really enjoyed these. I can't really say much more about them. I mean, they're fantastic. They're hilarious. They're intriguing. They're just, everything you really want from a decent story, especially when it comes to theology and mythos. So, yeah. What about you?
Can I ask you a very personal question?
Okay.
And this is public, so you don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
Okay.
We both know that Sif shagged both Thor, her husband, and Loki. Now, which would you pick if you had your choice?
Out of the two of them? Probably Loki.
I bet he has a few more fun things to do.
Yeah, Loki. I would definitely go for Loki. I mean, if I wanted to settle down and have a husband and stuff, it'd probably be Thor, because stability, Aye. But if I wanted fun and a bit of a bit of an adventure with some sassiness and a bit of like mischievousness and whatnot, yeah, definitely Loki. He fills the bad boy perspective all completely.
Even at 22, you can't get past your bad boy upset.
Listen, every woman's got something like that, okay? Not every woman likes like a washboard ab type thing. They're nice to look at, don't get me wrong, if they're handsome and they've got all the body and stuff, but the inside mind isn't full of interesting and complexity, then there's no real kind of challenge or intrigue to that person. Your curiosity is kind of waned after a while. Where Loki has this kind of, he's a dick. He's totally a dick.
Wait, he could be a horse tomorrow if you want. Like, you could go Catherine the Great on that.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
Loki has actually been a horse. I mean,
No, I know this. I know.
this
But
is except he was a girl horse. Except he was a girl horse.
I mean, he's total about all the genders, man. I'm bi, so we'd fit really well with each other.
Well, I'm just saying, Thor couldn't think outside of rubbing his hammer,
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think Thor would probably, make sure, like, you got 3 in a cot and everything's taken care of,
See, my point of view is totally.
He'd be a good, responsible adult. I see totally where you're coming from.
Yeah, have both best of both worlds, You marry one, keep the other one on the side every now and again for a bit of fun when you're getting bored with the hubby when he's away doing his Thor thing.
For me, regardless, if I were Loki or Thor, who both fucked Sif, I would not want to fuck Sif. Like, all she cares about is her fucking hair. Like, I care about my hair. I take rather good care of it and things like that. But, like, seriously, do you have anything else to talk about?
Past the hair? Personally, I have lots to talk about.
No, really, you never see Sif talk about anything else.
Probably not.
Her birthmark, which Loki remembers. You read Sandman, right?
What's that?
You read Sandman?
I don't think I read. No, I don't think I read all of it. No.
He brings up a very esoteric thing from Norse mythology that he doesn't bring up in the book, but Sif has a birthmark on her butt that looks like a strawberry.
Nice.
And that's about the most interesting thing about her. So, yeah, I'd probably look for somebody a little more interesting.
Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, so 2.5 hours now.
2.5 hours. Everybody, thank you for coming out. We have the amazing Lauren's Corner. Please, plug away.
I'm Lauren's Corner, and I am not in my... Oh, I'm in my corner, but I'm on John's channel. So, one final plug. Lauren's Corner. Go check out my channel. Go check out my Patreon under the same name. Go check out my books on Amazon. Lauren Cullen, and you can search all different types of books. I've got more coming out very soon, and I'm working hard on other things and plans and foundations and blah 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 blah. Plug me. That is it. That's all you're getting. John,
do you have anybody else you're planning on interviewing soon?
No, I don't have any plans for interviews just yet. Maybe start after the new year. Once I've cleared some things off my plate that I've been pushed to the side for a little while. But for just now, no more interviews unless I do an AQ extra for my Patreon at some point. But again, that's all given the time of other people that I need to chase up and things like that. So I'll probably get around to those very soon. But if you haven't seen any of my Asking Question interviews, Please go check them out. I've got at least 3 seasons worth of interviews, a whole host of different people from the Game of Thrones community and beyond that. Definitely worth having a look at. So, John, what have you got coming up? Have you got anything special planned? What you doing?
Well, before what I have coming up, seriously, Lawrence Patreon, for a gallon of gas a month, you can get. She puts up her poetry long before she shares it with the rest of the world, which is awesome. You get some amazing content, and this is one of the content creators who I respect the most. Just gotta say. What do I have coming up? Monday there will be another playlist. The last one, I'm really hoping some people get back to me in the comments section on, because I want to know their thoughts. And there's also I brought back music trivia, which I really want people to answer the music trivia. It excites me. Like when I have to answer it myself and put up another piece of trivia, it just makes me feel silly. Also, every Wednesday we have Believe, talk about Neil Gaiman's work. I might have this lovely young lady back on again sometime soon. And the new video will be up Monday. The most recent video you can find in the comments section down below. It is called Drug Music Part 2. And for me, the two things about my channel are sharing literature and music. And with the drug music thing, I make it very clear in the video, which describes the playlist that comes out, which is awesome because you can sit and listen to a playlist and like do it through your workday or on your commute or whatever. I'm not condoning or condemning anything. You make your own decisions. You're adults.
But the playlist is there. Go check it out.
But the playlist is there. It's fucking awesome.
Because this man used to be a DJ. He used to get the lady offers. He was badass. This man is DJ Baptiste, right? He's the Saint Baptiste. So these are
DJ John the Baptist.
Yep, he's the only one that you should be getting. And also, if you want a just fun fact, in my latest book, there is a poem about Mr. Baptiste in that book, Break the Chain. So go check that out and check all his stuff in the links below. All this stuff, share it with your friends, get them to come.
And seriously, this is a playlist that you can link Liz Phair, The Lords of Acid, and Metallica all in the same playlist. And it makes sense. Go check it out. Music makes the fucking people come together. And if you have no other God, please have the God of music.
Or tits and wine.
Yeah, tits are nice. Wine's better.
Depends how accessible one is to the other.
It doesn't go away. And it doesn't drop.
Anyway.
Anyway, that was offensive as fuck. So, everybody, have a great night. Thank you all for coming out. Farrell Josh, Forrest Blurda, Dark Mother, who I always love to see, Sasuke, who guested on here recently and may be guesting again soon. Who am I missing? Peter Griffin. Johnny was here for a moment.
Bobby was in for a bit, and a few
Bobby Catalano.
Forrest Blurta, and all the other goodness that was in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, and thank you, Lauren, for coming on. I hope you enjoyed speaking about this. I know I get waffly.
It just happens. That's just how we are.
It's my fucking channel. This is what I do.
Yeah. It's your channel. It's what you do. It's what you care about, and that's all that matters.
If somebody has a problem with it, they can toss a fucking egg.
Okay.
All right. So, everybody, please check out Lauren's shit. PLUR. Be excellent to one another. Do some Hindu dancing. And fucking party on.